Now, the Dutch far-right leader, Geert Wilders, has announced that his party is quitting the coalition government. Wilders says he's told the Prime Minister Dick Schoof that all of his ministers will leave. The decision comes over a dispute on immigration. Wilders says the government does not back his ideas for stricter asylum policies. Well, let's go straight to Dominic Kane. He's across this for us from Berlin. Dominic, I believe Wilders has threatened to do this before over other issues. He's finally now followed through.
The thing to remember is that Mr. Wilders is, or his party at least, is the party with the large number of seats in the Tweede Kamer. That's the name of the German parliament. And so when he pulls his ministers out, that's pulling out more ministers, as it were, for a party than any other in that coalition. So that coalition is immediately in very serious trouble. And it's also, some people say, a power move by Mr. Wilders. He clearly he has his own agenda. He wants to see more of his agenda implemented in policy, as it were. And that's why he's pulling his people out of that government right now. But then there's the question about what really stands behind this in terms of the policy, because the Dutch government, presided over by a Prime Minister, Mr. Schoof, who is not really party political. At least when he came into office 11 months ago, he said he wasn't going to be for any particular party. And so from that perspective, you then say, OK, if there is a broad consensus about, as it were, a tougher policy on immigration, then why would Mr. Wilders do now what he has done? Mr. Wilders, well, he would say he wants soldiers from the Dutch army to be on the borders, turning back all asylum seekers. Well, that would be absolutely against EU law, against the sorts of regulations that exist, the Dublin regulations about how and when each member state should process asylum claims by people who come into their territory. So there's a lot going on behind this. But on the face of it, he says it's about immigration. His opponents say, no, this is a power play by Mr. Wilders.
So, Dominic, what actually happens now, given that the number of ministers we're talking about and the frailty of the coalition? Could we see an early election?
Well, 4 parties were in government until the PVV. That's the Party voor de Vrijheid. That's the name, the Freedom Party of Mr. Wilders. 4 parties were in government together. They had a majority in the Tweede Kamer and they could get their agenda through. You take him out of the equation, that's Wilders, and his party out of the equation, and obviously these 3 parties now have to try to find somebody else with whom to form a coalition, to find a majority, to try to keep the government on track. There are those who say, well, this is handing the government of the Netherlands to the left on a silver platter. That's a quote from an eminent politician in the Netherlands this morning. The question would be, how would a new election be brought about? In whose interests would it be for that to take place? Lots of questions right now, but clearly all the relevant party leaders, so that's leader Jazeera from the VVD, that's the Freedom and Democracy Party in the Netherlands, the traditional centre-right party. They've got lots of questions to ask, to work out, well, who could they form a government with, and in what interest would it be to do that? So at the moment, there could be a push towards an immediate election, or there will be people trying to cobble together some kind of majority in Parliament. Both of those look difficult.
Interesting times indeed. We'll be staying across that for you here on Al Jazeera. For now, Dominic Kane there in Berlin. Thank you, Dominic.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.